Focus, we're coming to you live. Hello, and we're bringing you the latest news in the ASEAN dynamic region. Hello.
Good afternoon, Alma, and to all of our televiewers. I'm Ralph Randolph Empire from your EPC Vietnam Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. A lawyer for ousted Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi asked the people of Myanmar to stay united in the face of military rule.
At least 6 people died and several more are missing after a passenger ferry sank off the coast of Bali, Indonesian authorities said on Tuesday, in the latest maritime accident to hit the archipelago.
Philippine boxing Senator Manny Pacquiao accepted President Duterte's challenge, naming the Department of Health as one of the government agencies which he claimed was corrupt.
Filipino golfers Yuka Sasso and Bianca Pagdanganan have officially earned their spots in the Tokyo Olympics following the final release of the Olympic ranking for women's golf on Tuesday night.
A lawyer for ousted Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi asked the people of Myanmar to stay united in the face of military rule. The Nobel laureate and daughter of independence hero General Aung San has been under house arrest since February coup that sparked huge pro-democracy protests the junta has tried to crush with deadly force. Take a look.
ကျမတို့ကိုအထူးမှားတာကတော့ရှင်းနေတယ်ပေါ့နော်အားလုံးစီစီလုံးလုံးနေကြပါညီညီညွတ်ညွတ်နေကြပါလို့ပြောတယ်ပြောပြီးတော့ပြည်သူတွေကိုလည်းစီစီလုံးလုံးညီညီညွတ်နေကြပါလို့သူကမှားတယ်အရင်အမြဲ
Invisible to the outside world, bar a handful of courtroom appearances, Suu Kyi, 76, has been hit with an eclectic raft of charges. She could face more than a decade in prison if convicted on all counts. On Tuesday, she heard testimony that she flouted coronavirus restrictions during elections. Her National League for Democracy Party won by a landslide last year, according to her lawyer, Min So. And she told this to reporters. The specially convened court in the capital, Naypyidaw, also heard testimony on a separate charge of sedition. Although Suu Kyi's legal team argued 2 documents submitted by the prosecution were inadmissible as they were unsigned. Former President Win Myint and senior NLD leader Myo Ang are also on trial for sedition and appeared beside Suu Kyi on Tuesday. Junta leader Min Aung Hlaing has justified his power grab by citing alleged electoral fraud in the November poll won by the NLD. Myanmar has been in turmoil since Suu Kyi's ouster, with huge protests, renewed clashes between the military and ethnic rebel armies in border regions, and an economy spiraling into free fall. The military has cracked down brutally on dissent, shooting protesters, arresting suspected dissidents in night raids, shutting down news outlets, and rounding up journalists. More than 880 civilians have been killed, according to a local monitoring group.
Myanmar's multi-billion-dollar jade mines risk becoming a slush fund for military repression, Global Witness said on Tuesday, urging consumers to boycott purchasing any jade and gemstones from the coup-wrapped nation. The country has been in turmoil since the military toppled the government of Aung San Suu Kyi, with more than 880 killed in a junta crackdown on dissent, according to a local monitoring group. Myanmar is one of the world's biggest sources of jadeites, and the industry is largely driven by insatiable demand for the translucent green gem from neighboring China. The mines in northern Kachin state are mired in secrecy, but help finance both sides of a decades-long civil war between armed ethnic groups and the military. With the military taking control of licensing, the industry now risks becoming a slush fund and source of patronage for the junta as it looks to secure its grip on power, international watchdog Global Witness said in a report released on Tuesday. Gil Dietz, the NGO's Myanmar policy advisor, said that the grip of the military on the jade sector is so strong that it would be nearly impossible to purchase jade without providing money to the generals and their allies. The group called for sanctions to ban the import of all jade and gemstones mined in the country and for companies and consumers to avoid purchasing any jade and gems sourced from Myanmar.
In other news, at least 6 people died and several more are missing after a passenger ferry sank off the coast of Bali. Indonesian authorities said Tuesday in the latest maritime accident to hit the archipelago. Authorities said the KMP Yunisi had 53 passengers and crew aboard on a trip from East Java to the holiday island when the accident happened as the ferry tried to dock. Some 44 people were rescued as the vessel sank, while another 6 people died in the accident, with 3 more missing. The cause of the accident was not immediately clear. Marine accidents are common in Indonesia, an archipelago of more than 17,000 islands where many use ferries and other boats to travel despite poor safety standards. In 2019, 21 people died when an overloaded ferry sank in rough seas off Java's north coast. A year earlier, about 100 people drowned when a ferry sank into the depths of one of the world's deepest lakes on Sumatra Island. And more than 300 people are estimated to have drowned in 2009 when a ferry sank between Sulawesi and Borneo.
The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology on Tuesday afternoon said a continued volcanic smog has been observed over the Taal volcano's caldera, as it also received reports of ill effects from residents around the area. If volcanic smog continues, the local government unit can temporarily evacuate severely exposed residents to safer areas. PBOC's Director Renato Solidum Jr. told the Philippine News Agency. In an advisory, PBOC said reports of adverse effects came from residents of Lakeshore, Tanawan City, and Talisay Municipality facing Taal Volcano Island, and from some workers of aquaculture in Taal Lake. Solidum said that most of those reports included throat irritation and difficulty in breathing. High levels of volcanic sulfur dioxide gas emissions and tall steam-rich plumes have been observed from the Taal main crater since this past weekend, according to the advisory. With the continuous and unprecedented high SO2 degassing from Taal main crater, PBOC said it has recommended that health checks be conducted by local government officials on communities affected by VOG to assess the severity of SO2 impacts on their constituents. PBOC earlier advised those who have health conditions such as asthma, lung disease, and heart disease, as well as the elderly, pregnant women, and children to protect themselves against the ill effects of VOG. According to the United States Geological Survey, VOG poses a health hazard by aggravating pre-existing respiratory ailments.
In a related news, the prevailing thick smog observed in Manila on Tuesday is risky, especially to the elderly, children, and those with underlying conditions. The Manila Department of Public Service said, based on their air quality monitoring, the smog was primarily caused by pollution from mobile vehicles and other industrial sources. The DPS also refuted the rumor that the haze was caused by the unstable condition of Taal volcano. DPS Director Kenneth Amurao said an increasing concentration of particulate matter 2.5 has been recorded in the city since June 25. DPS air quality monitoring report from 10 a.m. on Monday until 9 a.m. Tuesday showed that the air quality index city was observed to be unhealthy for sensitive groups, according to Amurao. PM 2.5 is described as the fine inhalable particles with diameters that are generally 2.5 micrometers and smaller, according to experts.
President Duterte dared Senator Manny Pacquiao to name corrupt agencies and officials, or else he will campaign against the country's boxing superstar in the 2022 elections. Duterte promised to fight corruption as well as illegal drugs and criminality when he ran and won by 6 million votes in the 2016 presidential election. In the 2022 elections, many have been persuading the country's first leader from Mindanao to run for vice president, which he said would be dependent on the presidential candidate he will support. Let's take a look.
do that. Meron ako dito dinagdag, running for Vice President ako. Sabi ko, it's not at all a bad idea. And if there is a space for me there, siguro. Pero kung wala akong space, everybody is crowding up, wanting to be one Vice President, sila na lang muna kasi tapos na ako. Kasi kung mag-Vice President ako, kalaban ko, kontrapartido, kaya ni Pacquiao, salita ng salita na 3 times daw tayo mas corrupt. So I am challenging him, ituro mong opisina na corrupt. At ako na ang bahala, within 1 week may gawin ako. Maglista ka, Pacquiao, at sinasabi mong 2 times kami corrupt. Ilista mo yung mga tao at opisina at dapat nilista mo na yun at ibigay mo sa akin. Di ba ang sabi ko noon, if you come to know that there is a corruption, let me know, give me the office and the... Ganon ang dapat ginawa mo. Wala ka namang sinabi noong all these years, puro ka praises ng praises sa akin. Tapos, ngayon sabihin mo, corrupt. If you fail to do that, I will campaign against you because you are not doing your duty. Do it, because if not, I will just tell the people, do not vote for Pacquiao because he is a liar.
According to a report in Philstar, it is unclear where Pacquiao supposedly made the comments, but he is quoted making general statements about corruption in a December 2020 podcast interview on NAS Daily. He said that, "I'm not saying that all of them are corrupt. If they're affected by my words, I think they're guilty of corruption." Pacquiao, who has been a vocal supporter of the Duterte administration, also said then. Both politicians belong to the PDP Laban party, with Duterte as party chairman and Pacquiao as president. President Duterte said many government officials said and employees have been charged before the office of the Ombudsman and Sandigan Bayan due to corruption. He said at least 73 immigration personnel have been removed due to his government's campaign against corruption. President Duterte promised to fight corruption as well as illegal drugs and criminality when he ran and won by 6 million votes in the 2016 presidential election. In the 2022 elections, many have been persuading the country's first leader from Mindanao to run for vice president, which he said would be dependent on the presidential candidate he will support.
In a related news, President Duterte was completely surprised about Senator Manny Pacquiao's claim that corruption exacerbated under his watch, according to Malacanang. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said it was disappointing that Senator Pacquiao was initially all praises for President Duterte's accomplishment and then later became a critic of the current administration just because the 2022 national election and local elections are drawing near. Take a look.
Obvious that the relationship between the president and Senator Pacquiao is not as cordial as it was, no? And of course, the challenge for Senator Pacquiao was clear, no? In the past, you had nothing but praises for me. Puri ka lang ng puri sa akin. Di mo sa akin sinasabi, nakikita mong problema ng korupsyon. So, ayan, binigyan siya ata ng 1 linggo kung hindi ako nagkamali. Ilang araw ba yung binigay niya? Sabihin mo kasi niyang korupsyon. 1 week nga ang binigay sa kanya. No? Sabihin mo kung saan may ahensyang korupsyon na yan dahil pag meron namang alam na actual kaso ng korupsyon, in-action na naman po yan ng Presidente. And I can vouch for that dahil napakadami pong instances na korupsyon na pinadaan dito sa Office of the Presidential Spokesperson at meron po talagang nasibak, no? Sa lahat ng mga kasong natanggap kong personal. No? So ang hamon lang po ni Presidente, walk the talk, no? Kinakailangan kung may reklamo ka, sabihin mo kung anong reklamo niya na ma-actionan ng Presidente. Otherwise, talaga namumuliti ka lang daw si Senator Pacquiao. But I guess as far as your question is concerned, natapon na po ang sabaw, kumbaga. I don't think it was expected kasi ako mismo nagbalita sa taong bayan na nung minsan na linipitan ako ni Presidente na spokes, kailangan alam mo to, no? Ang gusto kong tumakbo talaga si Inday Sara pero ayaw talaga. So, kinakailangan mamili tayo who has the numbers between sa tatlo. Ang unang-unang sinabi niya, Senator Manny Pacquiao. Pangalawa, Isko Moreno. Pangatlo, former Senator Bongbong Marcos. So, actually, it was a complete surprise kasi hindi pa naman pre-preclude ng Presidente na pwede namang dati no, na ma-endorso pa si Senator Pacquiao pero hindi ata nakaantay si Senator Pacquiao.
Senator Pacquiao is the current president of the Partido Demokratiko Pilipinas Lakas ng Bayan or PDP Laban, the ruling party President Duterte chairs. Pacquiao is among the personalities that the president considers as potential contenders for the 2022 presidential race, according to Malacanang. Now, Secretary Roque said the president's strained ties with Senator Pacquiao would not be a reason for the president to remove Pacquiao as the possible standard bearer of his administration. Boxing Senator Manny Pacquiao accepted President Duterte's challenge, naming the Department of Health as one of the government agencies which he claimed was corrupt. In a statement, Senator Pacquiao said that he would investigate how the DOH bought rapid test kits, PPEs, and masks, among others, at the height of the pandemic. He also dared Health Secretary Francisco Duque to release how he had spent the government money for these. In a statement, Duque said the DOH has always been transparent regarding its use of funds, and he assured that the DOH is ready to disclose where the loans for the vaccines were allocated. Senator Pacquiao also stressed that he is not a liar, nor is he corrupt. He also expressed sadness that he and the president would be debating on the issue of corruption publicly. President Duterte got angry with Pacquiao the other day, he lambasted the senator for early politicking when he claimed that his administration was 2 to 3 times more corrupt than the previous Aquino administration. Senator Pacquiao has early on announced his intention to run as president in the May 2022 elections. And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Ralph and I will be back right after this break.
Samahan sina Wedge Kujamat,
Itong balitang panggising sa ulo ng mga balita.
Apple David,
Sa 60 katao ang isinugod sa ospital.
TV Publiko
Economic sabotage ang mga tiwaling negosyante.
at Cristel Fesalbon
Pagpresyo ng gulay, makakausap natin
para iatid sa inyo ang mga kaganapan at pangyayari sa bansa at sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo. Mga napapanahong isyu ng bayan. May balitang sports, entertainment at iba pang kaalaman. Simula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 5 ng umaga sa paborito nyong morning show, Pambansang Almusal, dito sa Net 25.
Pambansang Almusal. Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
Welcome back to the program. Now let's go to Thailand. The country has lost more than 500,000 jobs due to the pandemic. Here's Jomer Baldo reporting live from Thailand. Hi there, Jomer.
Yes, Ralph, 550,000 tourism jobs lost in Thailand during the second quarter as the country struggles with its third wave of COVID-19 infections, according to a private industry group. Thailand, in its most severe outbreak so far, which started in April, domestic spending and travel has been hit badly in the absence of foreign investors. 36% of tourism businesses has been shut temporarily and 4% permanently since the outbreak began, said in a statement of Tourism Council of Thailand. A survey also showed that tourism confidence is at record low in the current quarter. The survey also showed that hotel occupancy rates dropped from 20% to 10% in second quarter. More than 2 million tourism workers lost their jobs, including 400,000 in the first quarter of 2021. since the pandemic started, according to Chamnan Srisawat in a briefing. The tourism industry has high hopes for the Phuket Sandbox, which will start on July 1st, a pilot project that would welcome vaccinated foreign tourists in this year. Mr. Chamnan added that most tourism operators only have cash flow for up to 6 months. If the outbreak can't be controlled and the economy does not get better by then, more businesses will be closed down. Meanwhile, the cabinet on Tuesday approved financial assistance of 7.5 billion baht for employers and workers hit by recent restrictions to curb the spread. They also agreed to delay debt repayments for state bank debtors until the end of the year to help household and smaller businesses who are affected by the outbreak. Back to you, Ralph.
Thank you for your updates and for your time, Jomer. You stay safe and healthy there in Thailand.
Thanks to Ralph. Reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand, I am Jomer Baldo. We live in interesting times.
And we have more updates in Thailand regarding the loosening of some restrictions in some construction sites and camps. Here's Faye Barte for the report. Hello, Faye.
Good afternoon to you, Alma, and to all our viewers. There were new restrictions actually here in the Kingdom of Thailand, which had been imposed by the government. And this restriction, Alma, had been already published in Royal Gazette. And these new restrictions are mainly implemented to deep red zone areas or maximum and strict COVID-19 control zones. These are mainly here is Bangkok, Alma, and suburbs are Pathum Thani, Samut Prakan, Samut Sakhon, and Nakhon Pathom. And there are 4 included here, provinces from the south of Thailand. This is Narathiwat, Patani, Yala, and Songkhla. These restrictions, Alma, had been started since June 28 on Monday, and it will be implemented for 30 days. Some restrictions are shopping malls will be closed at 9 p.m. Restaurants or any food shops must provide dine-ins only. However, food courts may serve dine-ins but must be strict with social distancing implementation and must have an efficient air ventilation. Parties, celebrations must be held only with not more than 20 people. Their last restriction that had been implemented is about the construction sites. They said that the construction sites will be shut down and worker camps or housing sites will be sealed off. However, there is a new consideration made by the government to ease the restriction at some construction sites in Bangkok, as this will prevent the essential engineering work and it will avoid any engineering problems also. And these restrictions, Alma, are clearly classified that are not meant to have lockdown. Checkpoints are also be present when entering into the said areas. The COVID cases in the Kingdom, Alma, 4,786, and the deaths that are reported are 53. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Faye, for your updates there. Stay safe. Thank you
Stay
for your
safe
time.
also, Alma. This is Faye Barte reporting live in Bangkok Thailand Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
Meanwhile, in Malaysia, the health ministry there advises people to be sensitive to others amid rising suicide cases due to the pandemic-related stress. Here's Alfred Balnos. Hi, Alfred.
Hi, Ralph. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alfred.
Pandemic-related stress such as career loss, job loss, and closure of businesses contributed to Malaysia's rising suicide cases. Health Ministry has called on society to be more mindful and sensitive of their surroundings for warning signs. The COVID-19 pandemic has had huge impact towards the mental health of individuals all over the world, including Malaysia. According to the Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, the number of suicide cases reported to the police rose to 631 in 2020 from 609 the previous year. He added that some individuals have a higher risk of suffering from mental health issues, including depression, especially when under tremendous stress or when isolated from support network of friends and family. If this depression is not addressed or treated, it can contribute to the risk of suicidal behavior. Dr. Hisham in a statement Tuesday, said the public is urged to be more aware of family members and people surround them who may display signs of depression that could lead to suicide. He said individuals displaying symptoms that appear suicidal must seek immediate professional help. Others can help through effective communication with the depressed individual by showing more empathy and less judgmental behavior towards them. The media must play the role through ethical reporting on suicide. He also called on the public to be respectful of their families of victims by not sharing videos of individuals committing suicide on social media. Spreading such as videos on social media might encourage individuals with risk to emulate and commit copycat suicides. Dr. Hisam said those seeking help can contact the mental health and psychological social hotlines and befriend their service nearest to them. Back to you, Ralph.
All right, thanks for that, Alfred. Thank you for your updates. Please keep them coming. You have a wonderful day ahead.
Likewise, reporting live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, this is Alfred Balmes. We live in interesting times.
Meanwhile, people are queuing at an oxygen station in the Indonesian capital, Jakarta, as cases there spike. In this Southeast Asian country, Indonesia just passed 2 million official virus cases recently. Let's take a look.
Nah, untuk travel kesulitan. Sekarang, tadi pagi kan saya ngambil tabungnya, mau coba di Pramuka penuh. Belum buka, tapi tulisannya oksigen kosong. Tadi lewat di Lenteng Agung karena saya tinggal di Depok, oksigen juga kosong. Beneran nih saya mau ke Pramuka lagi, tapi di sini ada orang ngantri nih, alhamdulillah nih ngeliat gini. Mudah-mudahan dapat.
Rumah sakit juga akhirnya isolasi mandiri di rumah dan membutuhkan oksigen juga, makanya kita sedang mencari oksigen gitu Pak.
Berapa hari mencari?
Sini kurang lebih 3 harian sini udah mencari oksigen. Ya.
Belum dapat sama sekali?
Belum. Hari ini kita lagi coba lagi untuk antri. Mudah-mudahan hari ini dapat.
Now, Indonesia has set a new record for daily coronavirus cases on Sunday with more than 21,000 as hospitals are flooded with patients in Jakarta and other COVID-19 hotspots across the Southeast Asia's hardest hit nation. But the real number is believed to be much higher due to low testing rates for the deadly respiratory illness. Indonesia's COVID case rates have soared in recent weeks after millions traveled at the end of the Muslim fasting month of Ramadan in May. And as authorities identify the presence of the highly infectious newer virus strains. Fears are growing that Indonesia's creaky health system could collapse, and there are reports of some overflowing hospitals being forced to turn patients away. Hospitals in the hard-hit capital Jakarta as well as West and Central Java have been flooded with patients, including those infected with the highly transmissible Delta variant, first identified in India. The national government turned over to Manila 22,800 doses of the Moderna vaccine on Tuesday night, part of the first shipment of 249,000 doses that arrived on Sunday. Take a look. The jabs are for overseas Filipino workers whose destinations include Moderna as among their accepted brands, according to a Facebook announcement. The city government thanked the Department of Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, testing czar Vince Dizon, and vaccine czar Secretary Carlito Galvez for the jabs. The vaccines were delivered to the Santa Ana Hospital, where the Manila COVID-19 storage facility is located. The facility can handle COVID-19 vaccines that require temperatures of -80, -20, -30, +2, and +8 degrees Celsius. The Moderna vaccine requires between -20 to -30 degrees Celsius. And passengers arriving at and departing from San Francisco International Airport in California can receive the COVID-19 vaccine for free. The airport announced on its website and on Facebook that qualified individuals may get the Janssen or the Johnson & Johnson single-dose vaccine at its medical clinic located at the International Terminal Main Hall from Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. local time. This is part of San Francisco's efforts to enable passengers to travel well and safely amid the pandemic, according to the advisory first posted on June 25th with one version written in Filipino. To be eligible for the free jab, a passenger must be at least 18 years old and has no previous history of receiving a COVID-19 vaccine. The airport also said, quote, those who have received any monoclonal antibodies or convalescent plasma to treat COVID-19 are also advised to wait at least 90 days before getting the vaccine to avoid interfering with previous treatments. And those who are severely or immediately allergic to any ingredient of the vaccine are likewise strongly advised not to receive their shots to avoid complications. Interested passengers are encouraged to book an appointment prior to going to San Francisco. Walk-ins may be accepted but will be on the first-come, first-served basis. To make an appointment and to learn more about SFO's free vaccination program and requirements, visit flysfo.com/travel-well/vaccination/site/SFO or its local information page, www.flysfo.com. PHL Pagpapabakuna.
In other news, streets are deserted and businesses are closed in Kuala Lumpur as Malaysia extends a strict virus lockdown indefinitely to curb the country's growing COVID-19 outbreak. Let's watch this.
Actually, it's very bad for business. But in otherwise, it's better to what they call to break the chain of the COVID-19. Around 20 to 25% drop down, but I still have my maintain with my regular customers. So there's regular customers. They are coming from all the way from Shah Alam and places far away.
The lockdown, which has closed most businesses and limited travel in the Southeast Asian nation, was supposed to have ended nearly a month after it started in early June. According to the Bangkok Post, the government has said the lockdown measures will be eased only when daily COVID-19 cases fall below a weekly average of 4,000 and providing other conditions are also clear. Under the lockdown, only essential manufacturing and services sectors are allowed and operate, and shopping malls, schools, and public parks are closed. People's movements are also restricted, with only 2 people per household allowed to go out, and journeys between states and districts in the country banned. This is the nation's second lockdown during the coronavirus pandemic, following one between March and May last year when the border was shut and the economy ground to a halt.
And here are some images of over 100 indigenous Malaysian tribesmen being given the coronavirus vaccine in their village near Sungai Buloh, about 20 kilometers northwest of the capital of Kuala Lumpur. Take a look.
Our target, hopefully by September or December this year, this is for in the nationwide target. We can achieve this 80% of herd immunity for Malaysian who is eligible for vaccination, including the orang asli. The big issue is probably the accessible to health service, because being stay far away from our health facilities. So that's one.
There are nearly 200,000 indigenous Orang Asli, which in the Malay language translates to original people, living in Malaysia today, with some of these tribes said to have been here for thousands of years. While most Malaysians seeking vaccines can go to special urban centers to get their jabs, many orang asli live far from cities, and some staying deep in the Southeast Asian nation's jungles. Now, because of this, Malaysian health officials have to transport vials of the vaccine directly to these indigenous villages before administering them.
The Philippines has extended the travel ban for travelers from India and 6 other countries until July 15 to prevent the possible entry of the Delta coronavirus disease. COVID variant Malacanang announced on Tuesday. The extended travel ban covers India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said in a virtual presser. Let's watch this.
In-extend po na inyong IATF ang travel restrictions sa India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, United Arab Emirates at Oman hanggang 15 ng Hulyo ngayong taon. Isa itong proactive measure sa patuloy na pagpapatupad ng international border control dahil sa COVID-19 Delta variant. Kahapon po may nagtanong kung magkakaroon ng travel ban din po sa Indonesia. Wala pong travel ban sa Indonesia, bagamat papaintingin po natin ang ating border control dahil pinagbabawal naman po ang pagpasok ng mga dayuhan except kung meron po silang mga long-term visas.
This is the 4th time the country has extended travel restrictions on India and the 6 other countries. The travel ban on India was first imposed from April 29 to May 15. The Philippine government later decided to expand the travel restrictions by including Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Oman, and UAE. The Philippines has so far reported a total of 17 Delta cases which originated in India. The country initially detected 13 cases of Delta COVID-19 variant, all involving returning Filipino travelers. The 4 new cases are also returning Filipinos. Delta coronavirus variant is found to be 60% more infectious than the Alpha variant and apparently behind the surge in cases in other countries, according to reports. ASEAN and Focus will be right back. ASEAN and Focus will be right back after the short break.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Malacanang has allowed a shorter quarantine period for international travelers who were fully vaccinated in the Philippines, regardless of their travel history, and those who were fully vaccinated in countries who stayed exclusively in the so-called green countries 14 days prior to their arrival in the Philippines. This decision will be implemented effective July 1st. Take a look.
Samantala, effective itong Huwebes, July 1, 2021, ito po ang magiging guidelines pagdating sa inbound international travel ng fully vaccinated individuals na nabakunahan sa Pilipinas regardless of travel history at iyong mga nabakunahan na sa ibang bansa who stayed exclusively sa mga tinatawag na green countries or jurisdictions na nakaraang 14 na araw bago dumating ng Pilipinas. Una, ano po bang green countries or jurisdictions? Ito yung low-risk countries ayon po sa Department of Health. Sino naman ang fully vaccinated individuals? Naka-flash in yung screen ang mga ito. Basahin natin isa-isa. An individual shall be considered as having been fully vaccinated for COVID-19 if more than or equal to 2 weeks after having received the second dose in a 2-dose series, more than or equal to 2 weeks after having received a single-dose vaccine, the vaccine administered to the individuals are included in any of the following: EUA list or compassionate special permit issued by the Philippine FDA or emergency use listing of the WHO. Kinakailangan hawak-hawak ng fully vaccinated individuals ang proof ng kanilang vaccination status. Kung kayo ay fully vaccinated sa Pilipinas, kailangan dala ninyo ang inyong vaccination card na kinakailangan i-verify po ninyo bago kayo umalis ng Pilipinas. Malinaw po yan. Kailangan ng certificate na maaaring makuha sa Certification Vaccination Record Portal ng Department of Information and Communication Technology o ng City Health Officer ng lokal na pamahalaan na nag-administer ng full vaccination. Sa mga nakatanggap naman ng full vaccination sa labas ng Pilipinas, kailangan dala rin ninyo ang opisyal na dokumento na nagsasabi na sila ay nabakunahan na. Ito ay kinakailangan validated ng Philippine Overseas Labor Officer o mga polos o kaya mga magpresenta ng International Certificate of Vaccination. Kinakailangan ipresenta ito sa dedicated Bureau of Quarantine Representative para sa re-verification sa one-stop shop ng Department of Transportation pagdating po sa Pilipinas. Ang tanong, kinakailangan pa ba mag-quarantine ang mga bakunado na? Ang sagot, oo po. Required pa rin sumailalim sa 7 araw na facility-based quarantine pagdating sa bansa, whether fully vaccinated sa Pilipinas or abroad. Ang kanilang date of arrival ang magsisilbing unang araw ng quarantine.
Vietnam shook off a fresh outbreak of virus infections and containment measures to record strong economic growth in the second quarter. Data showed on Tuesday, though there were warnings that the road ahead remained bumpy. The country has long been among the best performing economies in Asia and was one of the few in the world to expand last year after success in containing the worst of the virus. And the General Statistics Office reported it expanded 6.61% in April to June, slightly below forecast in a Bloomberg News survey, but a big improvement on the previous 3 months, 4.65%. For the first half of the year, it grew 5.64% in line with government expectations. Though the figure is considered high, the GSO said that the COVID-19 pandemic boomed in some localities across the country from April and has posed many challenges and risks for the country in realizing the objective of fighting the pandemic while developing the economy. The economy grew 2.91% in 2020, its worst reading in more than 3 decades, while it is targeting a 6.5% rate this year. But Gareth Leader, senior Asia economist at Capital Economics, warned that looking past the jump in year-on-year growth due to a weak base for comparison, GDP data suggests that Vietnam is facing a heavy economic toll from its efforts to control the virus. With sporadic outbreaks continuing, the economy is likely to suffer further in the months ahead. Vietnam has fared relatively well during the pandemic, recording more than 16,000 cases and 78 deaths, with the majority of infections occurring since late April when outbreaks hit northern industrial zones before spreading to the southern business hub of Ho Chi Minh City. Restrictions and social distancing orders have been in place in several parts of the country since May, but there have so far been no significant signs of improvement, while only about 3% of the nearly 100 million population has been vaccinated. The country is striving to obtain more jabs from overseas while also working on developing on its own.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Economic Zone, or PEZA, targets a 7% increase in investment approvals this year, supported by strong investment interest from foreign sources. In a briefing on Tuesday, PEZA Deputy Director General Tereso Panga said the Investment Promotion Agency aims 6 billion pesos more investment approvals this year from last year's approval of 95.03 billion pesos. Panga said we have a strong basis for this projection because of the increasing FDI or foreign direct investments. He also cited the report of the UN Conference on Trade and Development in 2020 that FDIs in the Philippines rose by 29% despite the pandemic, while the trend in other Southeast Asian countries is the opposite. Panga said the Ecozone investments increased by 21% last year.
Asian equities rose with oil prices Wednesday, building on strong gains in Europe and Wall Street, as investors were buoyed by optimism over strong economic recovery despite fears over rising virus cases around the world. Vaccine optimism was also given an extra boost after Moderna said its drug produced protection against the Delta strain that has spread rapidly around the world and accounts for an increasing number of new infections. Traders were given a healthy lead from their U.S. counterparts after the S&P 500 and NASDAQ again finished at records in New York as data showed U.S. consumer confidence surged in June to its highest pandemic era level. The advance in New York, which was mirrored in Europe, flowed through to Asia. Hong Kong, Shanghai, Sydney, Seoul, Singapore, Taipei, and Jakarta were all up, while Tokyo and Wellington were flat.
And thousands of people gathered at a vaccination center in the Indonesian city of Tangerang on Tuesday, though many had not registered in advance and were blocked from entering the center. Take a look.
Pak Jokowi, tolong kami. Dari sini, Bu. Dari sini, Bu. Ini bagaimana Pak Jokowi?
Terjadi karena masyarakat masih belum well informed nih, belum terinformasikan dengan jelas bahwa yang divaksinasi mereka yang sudah mendaftarkan diri. Pada pendaftaran itu sudah jelas ada waktu dan jamnya. Jadi yang tidak mendapatkan waktu dan jam agar menyesuaikan kehadirannya. Di atas jam 9 istirahat dulu.
In other news, Filipino golfers Yuka Saso and Bianca Pagdanganan have officially earned their spots in the Tokyo Olympics following the final release of the Olympic ranking for women's golf on Tuesday night. Saso booked her spot in the Olympics through the top 15 quota and even rose a spot in the Ladies Professional Golf Association, or LPGA rankings. Following a strong finish in the LPGA Championship, she moved back to number 8 in the world. On the other hand, Pagdanganan entered through the second qualification quota, in which countries with less than 2 representatives in the top 15 can clinch the remaining 45 spots with a limit of 2 participants per country. Pagdanganan, currently 165th in the world, finished at number 44 in the Olympic rankings following the imposing of the quotas. Saso and Pagdanganan are the 16th and 17th members of the Philippine team to the Tokyo Olympics from July 21st to August 2nd.
A Chinese national who was at the center of a sensational raid by authorities on Sunday when they discovered he was keeping an adult lion in his Phnom Penh villa has been fined $30,000. Now, according to the Forest Law, Article 96, It stipulates that any person who breeds endangered species will be fined by the Forest Administration in the amount of 2 to 3 times the actual exhibit value of the market. He confirmed that the Chinese man initially raised the lion in China, initially buying it for $10,000, but then bought it to Cambodia without asking permission from the Forestry Administration. The unnamed man says that he raised the lion like a child from infancy, purely out of love and not for any commercial reason. And he apologized for causing any alarm to his neighbors in the fashionable district of Boeng Keng Kang, but said that the lion was not ferocious and had a gentle nature. He also added that the person who initially gave him the baby lion told him that it was not illegal to raise a lion in Phnom Penh. He said that as a foreigner living in Cambodia, he wasn't aware of the laws against lion keeping. That's still scary. Thank you very much, Ralph, for keeping me company today.
My pleasure, Alma. It's really good to see you. And that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. Reporting from Da Nang, Vietnam, this is Ralph Mandelpan by Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
And we'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
This program is supported by Security Bank.
Impormasyong mahalaga sa taong bayan. Patas na pagbabalita. Papakinggan ang magkabilang panig. Lilinawin ang mga issue at kaagad na ihahatid ng objektibo. Mata ng Agila.